Okay. Control. I'm gonna make this smaller. All right, here we go. I've started the recording. I want to welcome everybody today. This is secondary methods, and I'd like to introduce all of our coaches that will be presenting today. First off, I'm Tim Flores. I am a lead coach and facilitator, and I'm also the electives facilitator. Okay, I'll be the host. We have Miss Rhonda Davis. She is also a lead coach, and she will be our math facilitator, along with Suzanne Zamora. She's a lead coach and will be the science facilitator. We also have two colleagues that are joining us from schools. Margot Batha is an English language arts teacher in Los Alamos Public Schools and will be facilitating the English language arts. And Stephanie Becerra is a social studies teacher from MacArthur Schools. Stephanie is also a cohort 5 graduate from last year, not because she was a first year teacher, but because she came from Texas, having already had experience, but needed to get into her New Mexico. So those of you with in social studies will be with Stephanie, and you'll be able to get a lot out of that. So what exactly is, and I'm sure many of you are asking, what exactly is secondary methods? So here's a slide, okay? Secondary methods is a smaller zone in LEAP, very different from special education and different from K-8. Those areas are tested. They have to take a praxis test with those areas. And so theirs has a different. Ours, instead, is a gathering point and haven for secondary teachers to connect with coaches who have learned the environment at those levels. And the coaches serve to support questioning, discussion, idea shares, strategy shares, and reflection among these teachers to and with one another, like their own little neighborhood in LEAP, and a place that they know they are safe to ask the good and inane questions you may be afraid to ask to help navigate your year. I would like to remind everybody once again that the way this will run will be the first 30 minutes will be spent on topics related to everyone in secondary methods. Then we'll break off into our content areas, and you will spend the next hour with your facilitator. And toward the end of the facilitator's presentation, we will provide a QR code so that you can be given credit for attendance. All right? Oh, I guess I was supposed to say that with this. My notes got switched. All right, our focus for today. We're going to take a look at the August homework assignments, okay? Specifically looking at student surveys and maybe some ideas for you for open house if you haven't had it yet. All right? You know, surveys, this will be on your assignment. And I'm going to share with you, let me get out of this. I have a Google form, a PowerPoint presentation that I can share with you. Okay. On that Google form PowerPoint presentation, let me pull it up. It is applicable for both Google Forms and Microsoft Forms. Okay, so get to it. Can everybody see the Google Forms there? So this PowerPoint presentation will walk you through, okay, ways to set up a Google Form. Google Forms can be used several ways. If you're a Google Classroom, it'll take you through the whole part there. But then everything else here is pretty similar to Microsoft Forms. So that will be included in the slides. If you are interested, if you have problems accessing those slides, please let me know and I will just email them to you. Okay. But the other good thing about Google Forms, they're not just good for surveys, but you can also use them to create quizzes and exams. And the good thing about this is then it's easy to get back in there and collect the responses and make and correct the papers there. So Google Forms and Microsoft Forms can serve for a lot of things, not just the surveys. Okay. But certainly surveys are one of the better parts of it. As you can tell, it's been a while since I have presented, and I'm a little bit rusty going back and forth. All right. I apologize. I'll make the best. Get back to my notes. So let me show you an example of a Google form. Okay. I shouldn't. Okay. Here we go. Can every give me a thumbs up if you can see that Google form there? Good. So this is one that I use for my candidates to survey them. All right. You can see that I asked for their full name. This one was something different. You can get their email address, but usually the email address is included with it, but I still ask for it in case they use something different. You don't want to ask your kids for the phone numbers, but you know, some of this isn't applicable, but you can see here everything that can I put on there for them to give short responses to. Okay. This is what it looks like when you're creating. So I can either choose multiple choice, text, a rating like thumbs up, thumbs down, um, different. I agree. Different levels of agreement or disagreement. You can put the date, anything like that. All right. It has ranking. Here are some pre-made questions for you if you need, but you don't have to use them. And this is a Google form. But if I were to create, all I would need to do here is add, okay? And it says add new, and then I choose, let's say multiple choice. It'll give me the options. I can add more options. And then in here, I can type in. So that's for multiple choice, all right? Or I can do text. Here I put the question in for short answer, okay? What year did you graduate, for example, okay? And then here, if it's a long answer, I can switch it to give more room. And then this button here, it's optional to either, it's a required answer or not. And so I think if you just go through those, and take a look at it, it's really not that hard to create the survey. And this will be one of your homework assignments, all right? And go back to this screen. Okay, so I am back to my original screen, right? Okay. Another way that you can do this is using SurveyMonkey. This on SurveyMonkey, okay, you create a free account. You can do it with your email, or you can do it with your uh, Google login or Microsoft login. I did mine with it, so I'm already past the point. But it's real easy to create an account. It took me like 1 minute to create the account. Once I got in, it gave me different things, but they already have some that are pre-made. So I chose this and I didn't have to do anything. And this is the way that Survey Monkey. Okay. Now, once you do that, and here you may want to get some ideas for some of these that you may want to use, maybe not this time, but maybe later on. Okay. But Survey Monkey will also, um, if you're looking, see if I can get to this. I did a YouTube search and found several videos, okay, for creating a survey with Survey Monkey. So that's another way to, in case you're wondering, well, how do I do it or what needs to be done? There's really not that hard if you, a lot of it walks you through it, but a lot of it, there's a lot more information out there just using, doing a search on Google or on YouTube videos on how to. So there's another uh, resource for you to use if you're interested in for creating surveys. So once I've created the survey, what should I do with it? Okay. Well, remember that surveys are your information about your students. It's going to tell you everything that can impact their teaching, your teaching, and their learning. Hopefully, if you ask the right questions. Okay. They can be done at any point during the year, and I highly suggest that you do that. Surveying your students should not be a one-time deal. And if you think about it, if you did it every grading period, you could find some other things about how did you feel about this grading period? What are you still struggling with? You can create the surveys about anything. Okay. But the more information you have and more you know, the better connected you're going to be to your students, the more engagement you're going to have in classes. They can be done at any point, but they're generally done at the beginning of the year or term to get to know your students. I really do encourage you to do it more often, even if it's at a minimum, to do it a second time at the beginning of the second semester. That'd be a minimum. Okay. Rhonda or any of the other coaches, do you have any other suggestions for how often or when they can do this?
My recommendation would be at least once a semester.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now, the two things that I showed you were high tech, or you have to use technology. But you can also create surveys, note tech, paper and pencil. Run them off, type them out on the Word document, then you collect them. A lot of people just use the index cards. One of the things is you need to review the data and get to know your students, and then consider how this is going to guide the connecting with your students, and then the other times and purposes for surveying your students. But one thing you don't want to do is toss it in your desk and only review at the beginning of the year. Here's another good reason. This data can be used for one of the artifacts for your end of the year portfolio. Okay. You have several artifacts that you have to provide at the end of the year portfolio. But you have to document how you used it to guide instruction and how it improves student performance. So you really have to break down and disaggregate the data. Okay. The other thing not to do, don't share it with the other students. Okay. Protect their confidentiality. All right. Especially if you're asking some real personal questions or something that should not be shared. So don't share the information with other students. All right. So now let's talk a little bit. Oh, let me go back. And I'm going to come off here. Are there any questions? Because I've been doing all the talking, which I shouldn't, but like I said, I'm a little bit nervous. Okay. At this time, are there any questions that any of you have about the student surveys? And you can come off. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay, so I did do the survey. We did that social emotional learning and I love the I am worksheet. So I went along with something similar to that. It was on the board and I had the students write it out because the class is PE and we don't necessarily have too many bell ringers and things like that. We do warm-ups for the bell ringers. So when we did that, I was putting this information into the homework and kind of felt like I did it wrong because I did not use the Survey Monkey and the Google Forms. Which would you recommend to use? The paper and pencil or the technology based?
Well, being that your class is PE and they're not probably not bringing in their computers, correct? Then I
Mm-hmm.
would use paper and pencil.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I would also remind you that your data does not, for the homework assignment, does not have to be for all your classes. It only has to be for one particular class. That way you can
Okay.
really focus on that data and don't have to look at 120 if you're teaching or whatever. You can focus on one class's data. All right?
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Awesome. Thank you.
sure. Anybody else? Thank you, Lindsay, for sharing that because, yeah, if you're a Google Classroom school, it's easy to get to. If you're a Microsoft Teams school, the forms are there and there's tutorials also with that. Okay, so you can do that. And even if you do use SurveyMonkey, if you want to use SurveyMonkey or Google Forms, they are printable. So you can still create it there and then print them out for the students. And then if you want, you can with some of those you can even hand enter the data. It's a little bit more work, but then you would have one thing I didn't show you that I can go back to because we have some time is um, let me go back and share that the Google form. I mean yeah, the Microsoft form. Once you have gathered the responses, all right, it it'll give you a thing here that says responses, and in this, all of your students' responses will appear. Okay, and this is blank as you can see, but if there were any of their responses, then you could also put here view all responses. There'll be a box in this area. You hit that, and then you can look at each student individually, one by one, and then come back and forth between them. So that's how you can review those. You can also download it as a Excel sheet and then have all that information, the data to look at it all together. I prefer doing it through view here because it's easier and easier for me to see than to look at the small boxes looking back and forth. But some people prefer Excel. All right. So hopefully that'll help you on that. All right. Um, let's move on back to this. Go back to this. All right. So like I said, if you haven't already, some of you will be having open house coming up. Here's some tips for open house, okay? First thing, make sure your room is clean and presentable. Nobody wants to walk in. And in my presentation today, we're going to talk about get to know people in the school, and one should be a custodian. But that doesn't mean that the custodian is responsible for cleaning your room. Many times schools are short custodians and they can't get to your room. So you may have to pick up some of the trash. Personally, I always had each class pick up any trash around them before they left. And then at the end of the day, I went around and picked up as much as I could. I'd also wipe down desks and things like that. But if you have parents coming in, you want it to be presentable, okay? The second thing is set the stage for two-way communication. All right. Have a sign-in sheet with the parent contact information. All right. So that let me say all right. I'm gonna get up. So that you can connect and get their email and their phone contact information. This way, you're able to get it. If you're also ahead here, another suggestion I have is have a sheet ready if you're using Remind or Class Dojo or any other kind of platform that your parents can connect with you digitally. That I used to use Team app with my teams, my track teams, but I also used that in MS Day School because I didn't know much about the other ones, and we use that to connect with parents a lot through the school. Okay, but it's an easy way, to send out to reminders to parents, like, the end of the quarter is coming up. There are students who still have missing assignments or something, and you can connect with them as a whole group or individually. Google Classroom allows you to email each parent individually, but you have to make sure that they provide those emails, or you have to enter them. Okay, if the school doesn't already have phone numbers, many times that number is accessible through Google Classroom or Teams also, but it's good to just have it on hand quick, as sometimes that information is old and does not match. So you want the most recent, and getting it just by having them fill out. That also gives you a log as for proof when you're, and a lot of schools require that you submit the attendance log at the end of the night. So that's also something to consider. A lot of high schools will use a bell system and give parents like 10 minutes in every classroom, and then rotate to other students. They go to each one of their students' classes. Some just have them do drop-ins. I know at Rio Rancho and Cleveland High School, we did a 10-minute presentation. First period, the bell would ring. They'd go to the kids in second period. Your next group would come in. If you're able to do that, then I would stand outside the door, and then I even created like a PowerPoint presentation to present my information and everything that I wanted to talk about. So I had it every period just ready to go. And that's not hard to do. It was only like 10 slides. Take a few minutes to introduce yourself and share your story and your personal approach to teaching. Remember that this is not a time to discuss student performance or class behavior. Stay away from that. That kid might have had a bad day, but when those parents show up, that's their kid, and they're still really proud of them. And I would be very happy that parents come. You'll see that at the elementary schools, parking lot is full, barely walk through the halls. At the middle school, it's a half parking lot full, easy to walk, not as much. You get to the high school, and there's just not very many parents who show up in. All right. Take advantage of those who do. If you have a student, greet them. Stay away from talking about any issues that you are having. That needs to be done through the communication afterwards. All right. Have a handout or a syllabus of your class. And in that handout, you can include your introduction again with your email, class phone if you have one, okay, with the extension number, and even office hours. When will you accept, and the phone won't be blocked. You can talk about the course content, homework expectations, makeup work opportunities, and even your grading policy. Okay? Just remember, be yourself. There's also a link here, okay, for 7 tips for high school, middle school open house. And it's really good. I think it's a video. All right. So going to the next one. I'm going to be very brief on this, just because I was asked to. If you are teaching in your area right now at the secondary level, for example, you're teaching in your decreed area of human performance or exercise physiology, you have a human performance exercise PE degree, and you're teaching physical education, no praxis test needed. Another example, a biology degree, teaching biology or in a science-related field, no praxis test. However, if you're teaching social studies and your degree is in engineering or marketing and research, you're going to have to take a praxis test for social studies within 2 years, okay, to get that license. And just be sure to ask the next head for your transcripts. All right, good for that. We're at the point now that we are going to break out to our sessions, and here's how we're going to do it, okay? Rhonda, can you copy these? No, you can't. I can. I'll get out of the share. Science, you're going to use this link, okay? I'm going to provide the links for these so that you're going to get off of this presentation and join a new Zoom, okay? If you're in electives, you will stay on this Zoom. Do not get off, all right? Do not get off. Here is the Zoom for science. Here is the Zoom for math. Here is the Zoom link for English language arts. Stephanie, I had put yours on here earlier and now it's not there.
Do you want me to put in the link?
Yes, can you please?
Yeah, I think I should.
All right. So if you're in one of those content areas, you can leave this meeting, use that link, and it will open up and you'll be in those content areas, okay? And to see it, like if it got by you, you can scroll up and down on the chat to make sure that you can copy your link that you need. Thank you all for being here. Look forward to next month to seeing all of you together again. And maybe I won't be as rusty and won't stutter as much or say all right as much.
What
Okay?
about if you're in special education and you teach all of them?
Pick one that is the focus area. I is what I would think, right? Which one do you teach the most, or do you think you need the most help in, Buffy?
I teach all of them.
Understand?
I guess I'll take language arts.
Okay. And then,
Thank you.
since in that instance too, maybe you can talk with the other coaches and see if you can maybe next time do math. Okay. ELA,
So, Mr. Flores, on with physical education, where do we go?
with me. Just stay on. Don't get
Stay
off.
with you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm having
All
trouble with
electives.
my. I'm sorry.
All
Stay with
electives
you.
with me.
Okay, and I'm having trouble with my video. My camera is accessible, but for some reason I'm going to settings and I can't
Okay.
find out
Just make
what.
sure that you get that fixed for next time. Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Is ELA staying on this channel
No.
or we have a
No,
link?
the link is there. Just scroll through the chat and get back to it. Just scroll through the chat and you'll find it again.
Tim, I don't see the ELA one.
Okay.
There's no ELA link, bro.
Oh, let me get it again. Thought I had. Yeah, I do. But I'll put it again. Oh, I'm sorry. It went only to, for some reason, it went only to Jalen Hayden. There it is. Is that good? Everybody get it?
Okay. Good evening. I'm with Projects Lead the Way. Where do I do? Elective or science?
You are with what? What do you teach?
Projects Lead the Way. I do.
Sounds like an elective. Wow. Sounds like an elective. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, any other questions? Everybody else here right now is in an elective, correct? All right, well, let's see. Type in the chat what elective you're teaching just so I can get to know some of you, all right? Just go ahead and type in and enter what it is that you are teaching. Okay, Diana, I got you for Spanish, Genesis, PE, computers, PE, ag, aside, good, drama, life skills, weightlifting, IB business management, choir, culinary. That's the best one so far, right? All right, okay, very good. All
I'm
right,
trying to type in, it's not allowing me to send, but it's PE middle school.
teacher, we're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. To stand, all you have to do is hit enter on the chat. Okay. Any other questions before we begin? All right. Sounds good. Let me close that out. I'm going to share my other PowerPoint so we can take a look at what we're going to do for the next hour. If I can get to it. Okay. Oh, hold on. So, yeah. Can everybody see that? Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I can open this. See you guys. Okay. All right. Let me get started. All right. We're just going to start with a little chat here. What is one community building activity that you have tried this month? This comes from one of your assignments from pre-service, right? Post it in the chat. Okay. See if I can get to it. How am I going to get to it? I'm going to have to come up with the share. Oops. Hang on. Where is it? I am sorry, but oh, here it is. Would you rather? Okay, good. Computer science, cuddling, Lego education. Oh, that was somebody's thing. Give each other compliments as we prepare. Played a name game, class bingo, two truths and a lie. Built a soundboard. Nice. Name game. Good. A lot of great ideas, right? Marshmallow challenge, speed meetings, a 1 minute show in table groups called The Show Must Go On. Wow. That's awesome. Rock, paper, scissors. All right. Who was that? Genesis. Great idea. Okay. So now, let me get back to my share. You can still see the screen, right? The slide projection. Good. Here's our objectives for today. Okay. First thing is we're going to discuss who are the people that you need to know at your school. We're going to take a look at that. Okay. In years past, that was one of our homework assignments. It was part of the lead coach check-in. And I think it's just real valuable to go back through that. Second thing we'll do is we're going to identify best practices for communicating at school with parents, mostly etiquette with emails and stuff. Then we'll look at your obligations and ideas for grading and entering grades into your grade book. And then we'll wrap it up with a review of the August homework assignment on lesson planning. Okay, just to give you guys a heads up on that. So, people to know at the school. Okay, let's start out. If you, on our assignment, you have to actually go out and meet these people. So if you haven't, I highly suggest that you make it a point to do this. It's very important to know these people. First of all, is the principal's administrative assistant. Why? They actually run the school. Okay? The principal is in charge, but the administrative assistant runs the school. Okay? Be nice, treat with respect, because they can give you a lot of assistance and they know a lot about the ins and outs of the school. If you have something come up that was unexpected, this is also the person who you go to in many cases to let them know that you're going to be absent and need leave. You always want to treat them with the utmost kindness, gifts, apples, and stuff like that. Goes a long way. The next person I think that's very important to know is your custodians. Introduce yourself, get to know them by name, and at some point, you're going to need them. At some point in your class or in the gym or wherever you're at, somebody is going to throw up, or there's going to be a leak, or there's going to have something that you need them quick. And if they know you and you have been nice to them, they'll be there. But if you're somebody that doesn't give them the time of day, you'll see how long it takes them to get there. Okay? Take time to acknowledge their work, compliment them, thank them. If there's something they didn't get to, instead of time like, hey, you didn't clean my room, ask them, can I borrow a broom just so I can sweep up so you won't have to do as much? Because it's kind of dusty. They'll be happy to share any of their equipment, give you a dust rag, some spray for the desk, anything. All you got to do is ask. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is keep your room clean. This is their profession. I understand. And I have never been one to ever believe that people say that's their job. It's not their job. Their job is to go in there, sweep, and throw your trash and help you out. Your job is to keep it presentable. You've got students there that need to be responsible for picking up after themselves. You know, I made a point to model that when we went out to Artesia, and each day I asked all of our teachers, please pick up any of the trash around you. Take anything, there's plenty of trash cans in the room to throw away. Your snacks, your papers, whatever it is, because we did not and do not want to lose the privilege that Artesia schools give us to use their facilities. This should be the same way with your classes, okay? Have your students pick up after themselves. There is no reason for them to leave empty Coke or water bottles or wrappers or anything. It's easy. Last minute of class, pick it up, walk it to the trash. Get to know the counselors and social workers. These are people too that really, in this day and age with our students, they need and you need to know who are the resources and people that you can send them to for help. Okay? They can help you out with a lot of things. Right? But mostly let them know when you know a kid is hurting or needs some guidance or some assistance with accessing something not available there at the school. That's the social workers. They're good at that. And they're the most empathetic people and kind people. So make sure that you know them and they know who you are. The next person is your IT person. At some point, you're gonna have a technical issue. And they're always busy, it seems. But if you treat them with kindness and respect, they'll get over to you, take a look at that burned out bulb on your projector that you can't change, and get to it quick. Okay. The last one that they asked me to mention here is if you're at a school that has a school resource officer, that is a police officer or security at a high level, introduce yourself to them also. That'll be fine. Okay. Anybody else have any suggestions for anybody else that they think that you should know or meet? Because I might have missed something. If you do, go ahead and come off mute. No?
I think it's important to know the people who work in the front offices, like the receptionists and stuff like that.
Yes. Very good. Thank you, Kayla. Besides the administrative assistant, definitely, right? You know who's another one? The lunch ladies. Especially if you're going to eat at the school, right? But they're very nice. I had some really great experiences when I was teaching in Denver my first few years. I was also coaching, so I knew I wasn't going to have time to go home some days to eat when I had 4 o'clock game. And I would just tell those ladies, can I buy a second lunch or, something? They'd say like, oh, we'll just, what is it? I said, well, I have a game this afternoon. Oh, no, you don't need to buy another one. Here. And they just load me up, make sure I have extra, whatever. And it was only when I had games, I tell me, I have a game. At the middle school that I taught at in Denver, there was one lady that she wasn't very kind sometimes, but she accidentally gave me too much change. And it was going to come out of her till. And I let her know. And I said, man, you gave me too much change. She goes, no, I didn't. Yes. And I showed her. She saw it. She goes, oh my God, thank you so much. After that, I always got extra dessert. So, but they are very nice people. In my own personal experience, my wife, who's also lead coach, we had one of the lunch ladies at the time, were in my wife's class, and we got to know her pretty good. And, every Christmas, even now, or every December before Christmas, she'll stop by the house and ask us if we want to buy tamales. And she makes the best tamales, so we usually get about 2 or 3 dozen. And it's just those connections that you see people in the community later and stuff that really make a difference. All right. Thank you for sharing, Kayla. Anybody else? All right, let's go to the next. Email etiquette. Okay. You're in a professional, most of you are coming from some kind of professional thing also, but just remember, for email in the schools, these are also legal documents. They can be accessed at any time. So be sure that what you are sending, even from colleague to colleague, is appropriate. That's my first advice. Use clear and concise subject lines. Use appropriate greetings and sign-offs. Sir, ma'am, Mr. Keep your emails brief and focused. Nobody wants to read a 3-page email. If it takes that much, it should be an in-person meeting with that person. Okay? Use proper grammar and spelling. Most Outlook provides highlighted spelling and grammar errors. Use it. Make the corrections. Okay? I use AI to correct my errors. I have free AI that is for corrections for grammar and that. Just throw it in there, cleans it up. But last one is always maintain a professional tone. You can be friendly, but a professional tone. Additionally, when you are upset, either with a student or a colleague, or you received an email which upset you, I advise you to use the 24-hour rule for responding. Write it out, put everything you want in it, and leave it in drafts. Wait till the next day to send it out. When you walk away, many times when you come back and look at that next day, you will notice the tone. and decide either to make changes or not to send that on. I'm a very emotional person. And what I'll do is I'll write that email and then I'll put it away, wait about a little bit of time and come back and look at it. Nope, that's not good. Make changes. By the time I get to about the fourth revision, I say, like, I don't want to send this. It doesn't merit my consideration. Okay? If I have to be that emotional, then that's it. On your Outlook, there is in settings, you can set a recall send for amount of time. Mine is set for 10 seconds. So if I send something and I didn't mean to, or oops, I left something out, or not ready yet, it'll be at the bottom and it'll say sending, but it has an undo button. And I can hit that undo button before it goes. So that way, if you make a mistake, send it to the wrong person, that will save you. The other thing I advise is when you get a mass email, like from me, to remind you to come to secondary methods, and there's 70 other people on it, and you want to tell me something, do not hit reply all. Hit reply, Tim, right? Because not everybody needs to know what you need to tell me. Okay? And it creates a long thread. And then people start wondering what, and they start adding to it. Any other ideas about communicating with email? I don't have it up here, but we could talk about phone. When you contact a parent, okay? Utmost respect, stick to the topic. If you feel or you see that it's going sideways, the parent is getting defensive, or they're being rude and you're not, end the call. All right? End the call. Just say, you know what, I'm sorry you feel this way, but we need to discuss this in person. I invite you to contact the school. That's to protect yourself. Texting. Don't text if you can. But if you do, keep it brief and ask them to email or something. All right? Any other suggestions? Good. Obligations for grading. Okay. Some schools have a requirement of how many grades you need to post each week. Some schools it's minimum of 3. Others they don't. But remember that your grading, especially if you're at the high school level, is for credit. Okay. And if you don't provide students with enough opportunities for grades, low grades can bury somebody. Okay, so you want to make sure that there's enough grades in there to justify a grade, good or bad, and give opportunities. You can decide what those are. Some of you are probably using Power School, some are using Teams, some are using a number of Canvas, different platforms. But they all give the opportunity for feedback also. Okay, so I recommend, if you can, 3 grades a week. That would give you in a 9-week session close to 40. You're not always going to be able to get 3. 6 weeks, 3 give you 18 or so, right? Well, I guess 45. Oh, I thought 40. No, 9 weeks times 3, close to 30 grades, 25, 25 and 30. That's very good. Doesn't have to be that many, but it should be something respectable. Grading this, it should be timely, okay, with feedback. That's why rubrics work so well, right? That's why we're using rubrics to grade your assignments. 1, it really helps me, and 2, it gives us some calibration pointers for all of us grading equal, okay? But if you can give the student feedback, then you can also see why it is that um, they're struggling or having some problems or such. Okay. The other thing I like to look at is the case for no zeros. I have here, and how many of you are familiar with Edutopia? Look it up. It has a ton of great resources when you have a chance. But in that, if you put down Edutopia, the case against zeros, you will read a teacher's rationale for the case for no zeros. Zeros are hard to recover. He gives a lot of data, good data. When I was my last few years of teaching at Cleveland High School, we went away from no zeros. Lowest grade was a 50. My lowest grade was a 59. Still below acceptance, right? But what it does for students, it gives them a point that they can still recover. The difference between a 59 and a 0 on 3 assignments, there is no, or 5 assignments, there's no way that student can recover to a passing grade. They will fail for 1 0. So consider that, okay? Now, grades work not turned in is a different matter. That needs to be addressed with the student to make sure that they do turn, okay? But even at that, that could be, it's hard to start at 0. That's for you to consider. You need to have a process for late work and makeup work. I took the thing, I agreed with, there are arguments that late work, when somebody just brings everything in the last week and expects it to be graded, it's hard on you. But it's also probably not fair that it wasn't in a timely manner. And my grade was, if it was late more than 3 to 5 days, whatever the requirement was, they could still turn it in. But there was no 100% possible, kind of like with VPAS, okay? That protected the integrity of the students who were doing things in a timely manner, but still gave an opportunity for students to pass, okay? And it was good that we did that, and they appreciated that because they always felt there was a way for them to be able to do it. All right? So the other thing you can do is talk to your department head, talk to teachers that are near you in your content area, and ask them what is the process. Okay, what's the expectation? How many grades a week? Do we give zeros? What is a makeup policy? It may be a school policy that has not been shared with you, but make sure you are aware. Any questions on grading or grading obligations? And you can, Tommy, I can see you now. Any questions?
No, sir, it's just, I did want to let you know that, I work at Siembra and we had a field trip to Hinkle.
That's
And
already, thank you. That's fine. Thank you. Don't worry, Yadira, we'll provide you. Okay. Anybody else have anything on grading? Questions? No? All right. Then we're going to move on and look at this month's homework assignment. Okay. This is the lesson plan template that we're going to ask you to use. Your school, your subject area, your content area may use something different, but for homework, we ask that you move it to this. Okay. This is also the one that you will use for the end of the year portfolio. All right. So you're going to have to provide an exemplary lesson plan as an artifact of your portfolio. There's a lot of parts that go into this, so we're going to break it down today so that you'll have a better idea of what you need to do with the homework assignment. All right. Let me just check something.
Mr. Flores, I have a question. So the, this lesson plan, the ones that we turned in is what's gonna be presented, or we're gonna have another assignment where it gets presented? Like, we're gonna do another one for the,
Oh no, you're going to do this a few times during the year.
okay,
Yeah, we're chunking. Like like right now, you see all those highlighted areas? That's all you have to do for this assignment. Okay, so in the past, here's what we found out. We taught this like in September, October. and said, that's how you lesson plan. And then came back to it and started telling them, hey, when I come out to observe you, I want you to use a lesson plan and show me where I'm looking at. And then for the EPP, we said, hey, turn in an exemplary lesson plan. A lot of people struggled. We didn't give enough information and enough opportunities for practice with it. So we're starting now. That's what we're starting in August. Every month we're going to add to it. Okay. And we're going to chunk it there for you so that you will be good. I didn't hear this last year from high school or secondary teachers, but the elementary teachers, and I had some that would tell me, I'm giving my lesson plan. When I would tell them, and I'd say like, yeah, that's good. Now all you got to do is move it to this. Yeah, but it's already done. The school uses this. I understand, but this is what we're going to create, and you're going to have to move it. For the portfolio, one of my own teachers, again, at the elementary, just typed everything out. She had every single thing of that, but she typed it out. I said, okay, I need you to put it on the template. Well, it doesn't all fit. It will fit. Those boxes will fit. The font will change, whatever. Don't worry about it. So you want me to go back? I don't want you to do anything. I'm just telling you to use this in the portfolio. It has to be on the template. You can make up your mind how if you're going to do it or not. I can't make you do it. So she did. All right. So I am stressing to use the template. So let's take a look at it. For this month, you're going to have to provide an objective, give us a warm-up activity that you're going to do, an interactive review of the previous lesson, and then have the gradual release of responsibility. What are you going to do? What are you going to do together with the students? What are the students going to do together? And what are they going to have to do individually? You'll need a closing takeaway and formative assessment. So we're going to take a look at each one of those parts now, and I'll break it down. All right? Okay, here's the daily objective. This is the box that it goes in. And we make this smaller. Okay, your daily objective, all right, should come from the content standard, and it should be stated in student-friendly language. It is a productive lesson plan. Productive lesson plan objectives should focus on what the students should be able to understand, accomplish, or produce, and demonstrate how to exhibit that proficiency or knowledge. It should be students should be able to complete this in the lesson of that period. A lot of times teachers say it's the same lesson plan for 4 days. It should have had different objectives, because if you're working on the same objective over 4 days, the same thing every time, the kids are not getting it. Okay? Each lesson should have a part that it's either I'm identifying, I'm comparing, contrasting, the student will demonstrate, the student will present, any of those. It should be something that, now, if you're telling me, well, they're going to present at the end of the week. Okay, then at the end of the week, the student will present is the objective. Okay, but on Monday, when you are teaching them and they are practicing, that's not the objective. Now, the closing takeaway and exit ticket should be tied to this, and we're going to come back to that later. All right? You should be able to measure if the students, and it's a formative assessment, okay? Did the students meet this objective for the day? All right? Any questions on what the objective is, on what I need to put there? Where does it come from? You can come off mute now. No?
Sorry, I was fighting my
Oh, go ahead.
mic. Yes, so for a lot of electives, specifically mine, there's multiple objectives in this template. Would you like us to state each objective for, or just a general?
No, what's going to be the main objective? So your music,
Yes, sir.
you're working on a piece. What's the objective of that piece? What part do you want to work on that day? Now, are you going to, is it for them to just be able to read the music for it? Or are they going to practice their
Like a
pitch? I
specific
don't know
element of
I'm
the
just
music.
guessing that
Okay.
should be your objective. Okay?
Okay.
And yes,
Thank
you
you.
can have more than one objective in one lesson, but all of them you need to be able to measure, did they meet it by the end of the lesson? Right? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You can have more than one objective. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Another question. Or anybody else have a question? Thank you, Rafael. I appreciate that.
So I often have like questions that the kids are working together over time to answer, but that would be like broader. Would it be like they're modeling this concept? Like that would be the objective? Maybe like, because they might be,
You know where you
we
find it?
discuss it and then they'll make a model and then we're using the model.
What are they doing that day? Right?
Yeah.
And you can take it from the content standard. Remember, in the content standard, your objective has to come from that. So in the content standard, I'm going to look at those verbs and identify on this day, I want to work on this part of the content standard. And if it's identify whatever it is and illustrate and or whatever, I can put that in multiple objectives. But if the next day, that lesson, and which is perfectly fine, lessons should build on each other, right? I should have the next steps. And some might still be repeated, right? But they're not going to be exactly the same. Okay? Does that make sense? So it's a process and it's practice. And again, you put it in the template and then we look at it and then we can give you feedback. All right. So that's the good part about it. Remember, we're not expecting you to take this today and be a perfect daily objective writer. The best way to write these are in either I can statements, okay, where the student is stating, I can identify verbs in a sentence. I can, and I can't get any good ones for a higher level, but I can create, right, a model of a molecule and just move on from there. All right. So that's what we can also state them as the student will. But when I put them in I can statements, remember, I always want to post the objective somewhere in the room that it is visible and I am going to go over before the lesson starts. It's either going to be on a slide or a place on the whiteboard where students can see it in the same place every day. And when I start that lesson, I say today's objective. And either one day I'm going to read it and I can say you will, or the students will. I can even repeat the I can, it doesn't matter, right? And then move on. Now, another good idea is each time I transition or that part is finished, I got to go back and either restate the objective, draw their attention. When you see that they're off task, you come and ask them, what's your objective? How is this working on your objective? What is your objective? And then they'll know it's right there. They restate it and come back. A lot of times I ask a student to read the objective. Another day I'll come in and I'll have the whole class orally read, just to vary that. But they know they're going to read it and it's going to be stated every single day. So they know what it is that they should be learning. Doesn't just need to be here on your lesson plan. Okay? They need to know what the objective is. Consider this. If I'm doing an observation, or your principal is, it's your formal observation, right? And they come in, they'll go up to a kid and they'll say, hey, what's the objective of the lesson? What are you learning? And if you've practiced at the it's right on the board. Look, I can do this. We are doing this. And it's just habit. And your principal be like, blown away. So when they come and ask a student, they say, what are you learning? They go, I don't know. Something about molecules. Yes, I know. And they'll do that. But if they know every day, it should be one of your routine procedures, right? All right, let's take a look at the next thing. Bell ringers. So that goes with warm up, okay? Warm up can be a bell ringer, a do now, something that it's a short activity that students complete when they first enter the classroom. It can be right after the bell rings, but it can be a way for teachers to make the most of class time and engage students. And it helps to prepare them for learning. They can be tied to previous lessons, or even better, an anticipatory set that activates prior knowledge of what you're covering. All right. How are you going to tie today's lesson with previous lessons? That would go better with interactive review of lesson. I can start the class. Here's what they're doing the bell ringers. Remember yesterday, or remember last month when we were talking about, or remember a few days ago when we were I'm connecting to previous lessons. That is also activating the prior knowledge. I do know something about this. But a lot of times I can just come in, throw a picture up on the board, and they'll see that it maybe is an explosion or a band in music or something, and say, what do you know about this? And boom, there's your bell ringer, and now it's activating their prior knowledge. They may not really know, but you want to ask so you can figure out what prior knowledge they do have, and then you can clarify misconceptions before you go to the lesson. Okay? Any questions about bell ringers or warm up? It doesn't always have to be a bell ringer. In music, warm up, it should be a procedure. They come in and they're either I can imagine doing what are they called to get their voices ready? Whatever.
Well, I call them vocal warm-ups or vocal exercises, but a lot of teachers will call them like SOVTs.
There you go. Right? And we're going to start there, and they know, and then I can come back and say, remember yesterday when we were talking about reading music, or we were talking about pitch, and I can even provide examples of pitch, right? I can provide that, well, let's take a look. I can start a bell ringer with a video, right? It doesn't always have to be written word. A bell ringer is something that's going to pique their interest going into the lesson. Okay, it could be a short article, it could be a newspaper article, it could be anything quick that's going to get them thinking and going and interested in the lesson. Okay, I talk to math teachers. I don't have them here, right? But they would tell me, here's my bell ringer. I go, have you ever considered putting up an incorrect math problem and then having them identify what's wrong with this? So, and they got to go through all the steps to find the error to see where it's at. It's a great way to start. That's thinking backwards. That's getting the mind warmed up, activated, right? You can do the same. If you're teaching, Zoe, what is it that you teach?
Science.
Science. Why are you here? Why come you didn't go to science?
Huh?
Why didn't you go to the science methods?
I don't know. I was in here late. This is where I ended up.
Okay. We'll talk. Stay on after so we can talk. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Good. Let's go to the next part. Here's our gradual release of learning. Gradual release of responsibility. It's a framework purposefully and gradually shifts the cognitive load from the teacher to the students. You should never be in front of the class more than 10 to 12 minutes at a time. Lecture does not work. It's the lowest form of learning. Okay? If I hear it, even if I see the thing, just like now, I'm trying to get some interaction and stuff, but I know this is the lowest form, me lecturing. Okay? Hopefully next time we'll have some more activities. But I want to make sure that I'm releasing that responsibility of learning to them. I'm the facilitator. I'm going to get them started. I'm going to model the information and then I turn it over to them. And the way I can do that, and let me be clear before I forget, the gradual release of learning can occur in any order. You do not have to model first. Okay? So remember, a bell ringer is not, I'm not needed in the bell ringer. It can be independent work or it can be a group activity for the bell ringer. Am I involved? No. So I didn't start with an I do. I started either with a you do or I started with a we do. Does that make sense? So I don't always have to go in that order. Okay. Now, remember, when I do though, I want to list the things that I am going to present, kind of like a script or an agenda on that teacher directed. I gave the best exemplars or exemplary lessons that I had from my teachers last year for the EPP had how much time they would spend in each, or even a couple listed from this time to this. You can't always stay exactly on time, but it guides you. Okay. So, and I can go from here to do together or give them something individual to do, and then I can bring them back. Okay. And I can model the second part or another part, and then I can send them to a we do, or we can do it together, and then they can do it, and then I can. So this is not linear. It can be pieced all over, but put in there, when are you going to do it? First, third, fourth, time, whatever. 10 minutes here, first 10 minutes. Have something that will guide you to help. Any questions on the gradual release of responsibility and what needs to go in your list? Try to give some detail, okay? When you turn the lesson in, put in there what it is that you are modeling or explaining. Put in there, if it for collaboration, if you do it together, that's where you put in your turn and talk, your table talk, your group share, whatever it is that they're doing in a group. That's where you list it. If you're doing it together, if it's a discussion, you can still ask, put them in triads, discuss this, and then I'll call, we'll share out. That's doing it together. Okay. And then you move to the I do, that's where they have to produce something out. And again, not every lesson every day has to have each one of these components. Maybe someday, in music, for example, maybe we're not going to practice so. Maybe they're not going to work individually on their own thing. Maybe, but I can still have something in there for them to do independently later. Okay. All right. Questions, discussion. I'm going to give you an opportunity. Now's a good time.
So as a music teacher, well, we have kind of an overarching department in which they plan basically how we run our class. So I kind of jumped into their culture and how they run things. Typically, it's through a slideshow. Then we'll create one on Canva where we do go through all of these. We'll do an objective, a warm up, and then I have sometimes like a 5 to 10 minute music theory discussion, and then we put that into practicum. For things like this, I noticed that earlier we said that we don't want to be in front of the students in a choral setting. Is that like a figurative don't be in front of them, or is it don't be talking at them
Yeah,
longer
well,
than
you're not
necessary?
lecturing. When you're in front of them, you're directing. You have
Okay.
to, right? That's different.
Mhm.
They're still producing though. They're not sitting there listening to you for 60 minutes. They're participating, doing something. And as far as them giving you the lesson and what they want done in what order, you can still put that on that lesson,
Okay.
right? My frustration with Cleveland High School social studies department was they were given the slide presentations for all of them. I don't know who made them, but they were great. But I would go and observe because either I went in to help out a student with ESL or whatever. And they would be up there and reading the slide and then going to the next slide and then talk and then 20 minutes, 15 minutes done with that day's slides. Okay, you guys figured this out. And then go sit at their desk. They'll be like, this is bull. You know, how come they're not doing, and I have a teacher there last year, well, it's the slides that we have. No, it's not. You missed multiple opportunities for engagement. You could have had that slide and led a discussion just off that slide. Turn and talk to your partner. What do you think? Get up out of your seat. Go ask somebody else what they think. But get a consensus in the room. If you agree with the start of World War I and US entering, get on this side of the room. If you disagree, get on this side of the room. Let's talk about it. But you've got to facilitate that. If you're standing up in the front and just saying, this is what happened, this was the date, this was the result, bam, done. Go fill out your phone. You're going to have problems. Right? It's just the way it is. Take care. Okay, next thing. Here's my closing takeaway. Let's take a look at that first. Okay. Closure allows students to summarize main ideas. I think I have a thing for this too. No. So you want them to be able to summarize what it is that they learned. Okay. Evaluate a class process, answer questions, pose at the beginning of the lesson, and link to both the past and future. Here is your time for your closing takeaway to do a formative assessment. Now remember, formative assessments are in time, real time, in the moment, and it can just be a discussion. It could be in your group, come to a consensus. And I had a PE teacher last year at Del Norte High School. He led a class and he said, here's what you have. Your group has to come to consensus on how you're going to do. And then he left them. And then he came back and said, the closing takeaway was, what was the result? What are you guys going to present? What's the consensus of the group? Right? That was, and then they had to present that. There was a closing takeaway. Did they get something out of this? And that was his assessment. Okay. So that's a closing takeaway. It doesn't have to be written. It doesn't have to be pen and paper. It doesn't have to be on this. Now, an exit ticket, okay, is a brief activity completed at the end of class that can serve to gauge student learning and improve student metacognition and provide some targeted feedback about the student's experience that lesson. Remember, this is this lesson. What is that exit ticket? That's my assessment. That's my assessment. They're giving me of my teaching. It should never be for a grade. Do not give grades for exit tickets. If you are, then that's a quiz. The exit ticket should tell me, what did you learn today? Give 2 main points of something that you learned. What do you still wonder about? And don't say, do you have questions? Because nobody ever has questions. And it's proven research. If you ask, what do you still wonder about? They can put it on the exit ticket. I wonder what would happen if, or I wonder if I did it this way. And you give them some scenarios. And then you can have one, where you ask specifically about, if they got to a point in the learning process of something that they needed to know and to write it out or whatever. That is your takeaway for you to say, like, oh, they didn't get this. This is where I need to start tomorrow. I need to clear up because 5 of these students have a misconception of what it is that they should have accomplished. And I need to clarify that tomorrow. And that's where you connect to previous learning the next day on the lesson plan. Does that make sense? So remember, and you can go and Google exit tickets for high school, for your subject, whatever it is. And there's a ton of great exit ticket ideas for you to use that take 2 minutes. You collect them at the door, or they do it on their Google Classroom, and then you review them. You just code the data, and it shouldn't take you long. So that when you start tomorrow, you can connect it to the previous lesson, and you say, like, I gathered from the exit tickets that some of you still need some assistance or some clarification about this part of yesterday's lessons. Let's take a look at that. And maybe you skip the bell ringer, or it's right after the bell. Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions about exit tickets or formative. Now, you can also, because it is a formative assessment, you can give a quiz, right? And check. Again, now you're checking to see what did they get, and that's fine. All right. That's different from an exit ticket. But I would let them know at the end of class, we're gonna have a quiz on this. Okay? And that way they're prepared. All right. Any questions? Any ideas?
I have a question
Jenna?
real quick.
Okay.
On for the formative assessment or the exit ticket, does that have to be written?
No.
No, okay.
Now, the exit ticket, you kind of want to keep it very brief. It's something they can do quick on a sheet of paper or even a post-it. And it doesn't have to be a lot of information. It can be something quick.
Right.
Remember, the exit ticket should be something about, so that you can see, did they meet the objective? Was I clear? Okay.
Mhm.
A formative assessment, same thing. I can still do it orally. But I've got to be able to assess the whole class. So I'm going to have to make sure that when I do that I get everybody to give me an answer.
Mhm.
So that might take a little bit more time because I don't want Johnny sitting, 3 rows back or even in the front to have some questions and be wondering and say like, okay, did you get it? Did you get it? And you didn't call on Johnny. And then he leaves there like, I think I got it. Or maybe he did if you listen to them. So what you could do is you can ask, if you don't have time for it to ask everybody is, okay, I didn't ask everybody, but when somebody gets it right, you let them know this was correct. This one's good on the right. This is what you should come out. Who's not there? How can we fix that? What do you need? Right? And clarify those misconceptions. All right. Any other questions? Okay. We're sure. We're good. Awesome. Okay, so now that's your homework assignment. Those areas of the lesson plan. You're going to see everything on the lesson plan. You don't have to fill everything out. You can fill out the date, your name, whatever, grade level. Yes, but these are the parts that we're going to grade. And this is what look at the rubric. So you're familiar with what needs to be there on this assignment. Okay. Last thing, and you're probably all like, eh. Here is the QR code. This is the way that you are getting credit for attendance. Now, if you were late, please stay on so we can clarify when you came in and what you need to do. Okay. Zoe. Is Zoe still here? Zoe, you're going to get credit for attending, but we need to talk afterwards, okay?
Okay.
This is Stephanie. So I'm actually on my iPhone. I don't have Zoom on my computer. Is there a link for this? If not, that's okay too. I can always get my
I think you
husband's.
can screenshot it and then go to your camera roll and you can click the link through there.
Thank you, Natalie. Screenshot.
Awesome. Got it. Thank you.
And then
one thing that helped is like holding the QR code. So if you click it, it won't work, but if you hold it, it might give you like a link.
Awesome. Thank you.
Once you've done that, okay, we're finished and you're excused unless you have questions. I'm going to stay on to answer any questions, okay?
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
I can hear everything and everybody, but my computer's lagging or my Wi-Fi, and I'm still stuck on daily objective on the slide, so I can't see the code, but I've been here. I mean, I can hear everybody and the sound has been fine.
Refresh and see what happens. Okay.
Okay, if I refresh, it might kick me out, but I'll try to log back in.
I'll stay on and then you can get back in. And it's the same link, so I'll stay on.
All right, thank you.
Once we complete that, we are good to go, correct?
Have a good day. Destiny.
You too. Thank you. You too.
Mr. Flores, for the QR code, it's asking who our leap coach is. I've had another leap coach reach out to me. Do we put you or do we put the coach that reached
Your
out to me?
coach, your lead coach.
Okay.
Yeah, because that tells us who to contact to give credit. They'll be able to see. I'm not your lead coach per se. I'm the facilitator.
And Mr. Flores, I do have a question. I'm at
Okay.
an IB school and we use a different planner that has.
Okay, but you know what? You can still move it over to this.
Perfect. So just move it over to that.
Yeah. You take your
Okay,
plan.
perfect.
I mean, like you said, you've got a plan. Fill in the boxes from your plan.
Awesome. Okay, will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions?
No, sir. Thank you so much for today.
Once, Mariah, were you able to get it this time?
So Mr. Flores, so I'm not real familiar with, I'm not really good with technology, but just how do I go about scanning this?
Take
Do
your
I just
phone.
take a picture? Just take a
Take
picture
your
of it?
phone.
Okay.
Don't take a picture. Take the
Oh.
phone, put it on the QR code, and at the bottom on that, it'll show you a link to that'll take you to the form. You need the form.
Okay, just put it on there.
So just put my phone on the,
You got to have your camera on. Put your camera on
okay,
the QR code.
okay.
See it.
Oh, and then it says,
Tap that,
okay, I see.
and then it takes you to the form.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Hey,
Thank you.
Tommy, I'm going to
Yes.
see you on Saturday. I'm going to Are you going to Las Cruces?
Yes.
Okay. I'll have books for you. Have you bought all your books?
It's paid through, everything is paid, I believe. That's what they
Yes.
told me.
So I'll be
Yeah.
taking your books. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Saturday.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Flores.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too. Anybody
evening.
else that's in the IE pathway? We're trying to get those books out to you at your sites this week. Okay. Anybody else need help? All right. Zoe, what time did you come on?
Probably about 5.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make it up. And
Yeah,
so
I
what
can
you do,
so.
I'll send you. We'll get it. Send me an email that you need to make it up, so we can send you the information. So you get the information, and you're gonna get the video recording for science.
Okay.
Okay.
So is that by making up, you mean like next year, right? Or do you mean?
No.
Yeah.
I'll
What?
have an assignment for you to complete. We're working on
Oh, okay.
it. But that's one. You don't get two.
Yeah. No, I had just completely,
That's okay.
it's been a lot, but
Make sure that you put alerts or whatever.
yeah. Well, I thought my phone would tell me earlier than it did.
All
I
right.
was like driving home and I was like, oh no.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I thought I had an alert, but not good enough, I guess.
Okay.
Sir, if I may, I'm also
Yeah.
science. I'm also science, and I could not find the content on the Canva calendar. I did reach out to Susan.
No, you're in the right one, Yadira, but
Okay, but I'm also
what's
doing
gonna happen
science.
is same thing like her.
Okay,
We're gonna set you up with the full thing, and then I'll let Suzanne know that you need
yeah.
her stuff, and then it'll come with an assignment.
Was it in the
Email
July
you.
calendar and not on the August calendar? Is
No,
that
it's
why
on the
I
August.
missed it?
Yadira, there is not a science methods.
Oh,
There is secondary methods. When you get here, we break out to science. That's why it's only us. These are elective people.
yeah. We were
So
in
you
a
always
field
look
trip
for
all day today.
secondary. You're in the right place. You just
Okay,
became late. It's all right. Okay.
thank you, sir.
All right. Anybody else have questions?
You said
Jen?
email you?
Yeah. tflores@ces.org.
I don't have questions. I'm just finishing the attendance thing.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
At what? I'm sorry.
ces.org.
CES. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
.org. O-R-G.
Thank you.
All right. Stephanie, what school are you at?
Tohatchi Middle School.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We just picked you
Yeah.
up. That's right. Good.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of everything that was shared and how I will apply that into the class. So,
And I've
yeah.
got some other, if you need some ideas and stuff, I also have some PE content presentations that I can share with you. Okay.
That would be great. That would be great. I'd love that because it's interesting PE. Assessing. That's my thing, is assessing them with the bell ringers and the formatives.
You know, and on that, let me tell you the way you do it with PE, what I would do, and what I saw some really good teachers do before is at the end of the period, last 4 or 5 minutes, we come into a circle, and it's it's kind of like SEL, right? And we're going to share out. Okay, tell me 2 good things that happened today. Tell me some, and let them share, and then tell me 1 thing you're still wondering about either roles or groupings or whatever, and then 1 takeaway or whatever. And then the next time we come back, we kind of switch that up instead, because you don't have a paper and pencil. But that's always, I said, there's no reason for you not to connect with them at the end of class. Don't just send them out to the thing. Just tell them, hey, it's me. We got time. You got a 45 minutes. Believe me, that's part of the problem with PE teachers is they don't plan well. They don't have a good warm up waste, and then they've got 40 minutes that they have the kids play. Kids can't play for 40 minutes. Not constructive. It needs to be constructive, and you can guide that. Bye, Noel. We'll see you. Okay. So
got it.
Those times, and the other thing I do is with those, it's I lead the warm. Okay. And I gotta start out slow, but I'm building up, some stretches, 4 or 5 minutes of some good stretches, and then I'm going to go into some movement, and that movement's going to be agility. I'm going to do some high knees, I'm going to do some skipping, I'm going to do some hopping, come back, catch our breath. Once I do that, I'm going to do some stationary things, standing plyometrics, where just quick hops, just on your toes, and then on 1 foot, then on the other foot, and then I'm going to do ballistic plyos, and I'm going to have them jump up quick, gather their knees to their hips, and put their feet down. As soon as they hit the ground, just tell them bounce hop, boom, boom, boom. And I only need 4 or 5 of those. Boom, we're moving. Do maybe some bear calls, stuff. Now I got their heartbeat. Now I bring them in and tell them, here's what we're doing today. I always have to develop. We cannot play any games until we have developed skills. We know how to play. Nope. We're going to practice skills, and we're going to get everybody to do it right. When you show me, we can advance a lot faster if we do the skills first. So what are you starting out with this first couple of weeks?
So this week I've been focusing on the social emotional learning, and I've taught the kids how to give compliments because they don't know how to give compliments. And today I had them practice positive self-talk and giving themselves compliments. So I'm strong, I'm smart, I got this. So the kids said that to me while I went to them individually. So I'm first having them build up this like the community and the self-awareness that the compliments will come into play once we start playing, and then the kids will be able to compliment. They'll know how to compliment each other, and that will hopefully create that teamwork, I'm hoping.
And the other thing I always stress, especially at the middle, is I assign teams. I don't let kids pick. I keep them as close and make them as close in skill as I can. If I see that one's overloaded, I kind of even them out. I can change them every day. But when you're talking about SEL and you're letting kids pick, that's where you should get picked last. And you can have 4 captains. There's going to be somebody picked last. And so to make it quick, you know, I tell them, stand in line, don't move, do not move. And then I go down the line and give them the number. There's another time I'll come in the teams, I'll have them already set. I know that's part of the plan. Then another time, you know, we'll give numbers and they think, well, if I move over here, 2 away, I'm going to be on this team. I'll say odd numbers over here, even numbers. But you save yourself a lot of headaches and you keep that skill level. Now, when you see that teams are getting, and it'll happen, even when you do it as evenly as you can, a team's going to be more dominant. Then you come back and find a way to even it out, to always make it fun, competitive. It does not have to be as competitive. You know what I mean? You want to make it fun. But middle school is the place, middle school is the place for team competitiveness. Okay, that's, and you've got to look at your curriculum, go to the pad, go to PE content standards for middle school. You'll see all the things that you can.
Okay. All right, cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you very much. I think I'm good. You have yourself a wonderful evening and I appreciate all the information. I'm gonna take all my notes and write it down and implement it.
Okay, have a good day.
All right, awesome. We'll see you, Mr. Flores.
Bye-bye.
Bye.